Welcome, Valarie.
Sisters and brothers of the world, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. The women in this room, Marianne Williamson, Dr. Serene Jones, the women on this stage, the women in this space, you are blazing a path of love that returns us to the heart of our faiths. You are blazing a path of love for a new generation to follow. I come to you as a Sikh American, and the Sikh faith, like all of our great wisdom traditions, is a path of love. 5 centuries ago, halfway around the world in South Asia, a man named Nanak disappeared by a river for 3 days. People thought him a dead man. People thought him a drowned man, but he was birthed anew. He emerged with a vision, a divine revolution of the heart. Ik Onkar. God is one. Humanity is one. We are one. When we pray through music and song and poetry, we lose ourselves in this oneness and the ego in us. The ego in us that divides the world into us and them, self and other, starts to quiet. And something marvelous happens. We fall in love. When we are in love, we see with new eyes. We look upon the faces of people who are different from us and say, brother, sister, I cannot live if you are dying. I cannot stand by if you are suffering. So we pray to remember God, but we serve selflessly, seva, in order to realize God. The path of love is not safe. The path of love is not easy. It requires us to face the fires of this world with a saint's eyes and a warrior's heart and walk into them. There is a story of a Sikh woman warrior, a 17th century woman, Mai Bago. 40 soldiers abandoned their post in a great battle, and she told them, you will not hide from the fires. You will return to the fight, and I will lead you. She mounted a horse. She donned a turban. She took sword in her hand, and with fire in her eyes, she led them back into the fight. She became the one she was waiting for. There is that woman warrior in each of us. There is that love in each of us that makes us fearless. I did not understand the fullness of that love until I gave birth 10 months ago. My mother's hand on my head, whispering in my ear, you are brave, you are brave. When I held my son in my arms for the first time, I looked at him and I knew that I would give my life for him. My husband turned to me and said he didn't think it was possible, but he loved me more. I said, are you sure? Because wild things happen to you during your labor. I mean, things spill out of you, things you don't want anyone to see. You all know what I'm talking about. I said, are you sure? And he said, yes, I'm sure. It was the most selfless thing you've ever done. In that moment, I looked at my own mother with new eyes, and I saw the way that she had poured her body, her breath, her blood into me from the moment of my birth to the moment of my son's birth. You see, my mother stayed at home to raise me. She set me free. She sent me out into the world so that I could live the life that she was denied. I thought I wasn't supposed to be like her. But all this time, she was showing me, like all of our mothers and grandmothers have been showing us, the love that is at the heart of all of our faiths, Love without thought of outcome. Love that sets others free. Love so deep that you would give your life for it. That kind of love is revolutionary. That kind of love can remake the world around us and within us. And I have come here because I believe that revolutionary love is the call of our times. Because on the same day, at the same time my son was born, people were marching in city streets across this nation, protesting the killing of Black unarmed bodies, hands up, chanting, "I can't breathe." Because when Kavi was only 8 weeks old, I had to bundle my son up and take him to a candlelight vigil to mourn the lives of 3 Muslim students, all shot in the head in Chapel Hill by a man who despised religion. And I imagined my son their age one day, and I couldn't breathe. Because last month in Chicago, the site of the First World Parliament, another sick father was beaten to the ground, beaten bloody, called terrorist. 100 years after my family has called this country home, 14 years after 9/11, our bodies are seen as perpetually foreign and potentially terrorist. Just as Black bodies are seen as criminal, brown bodies illegal, trans bodies immoral, indigenous bodies savage, women's bodies as property. No more, no more. No more, because when we call bodies inferior and strange to ours, it becomes easier to imprison them, to rape them, to kill them. No more. I say no more. No more. No more. No more. I look at you in this moment, and I know that we can stop this. Because I can see Rana Sodi in the audience. Rana ji, will you stand up? Your brother, Balbir Singh Sodi, was the first father, the first man who was killed in a hate crime after 9/11. I sat with your family and I wept with you, and I felt the depth of your grief. And next to Uncle's widow, I could only ask her one question: what would you tell the people of America? And she said, I was expecting anger, I was expecting defeat, but she said, tell them thank you. Tell them thank you, because when I came to America for my husband's funeral, they came out in the thousands, Christian, Muslim, Jew. They wept with me, they cared for me, they loved me. Tell them thank you. And from that moment, Ranaji, you have told that story of love. You have showed us that forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness is freedom from hate. Sisters and brothers of the world, your love is revolutionary when you show up for one another. Your love is revolutionary when we leave these halls of interfaith, the dialogue, into the battleground, into the fires of the world, when we wield a modern-day sword, our lawsuits, our cameras, our megaphones, our pens, our voices, when we fight with our hearts, we can remake the world around us and within us. I have seen this. I have seen you do this for my community. A few years ago, do you remember a white supremacist walked into a sick house of worship and opened fire, blood soaking the ground? I thought we were alone. 14 years, I thought we were alone, but you showed up. You sat there and you prayed with us in those prayer halls, and you named not only every single person who was killed, every victim, we also together we prayed for the soul of the gunman. Forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness is freedom from hate. And it makes us warriors. And we took our story to the halls of Congress, and we called upon President Obama to change federal hate crime policy. And thousands of you on groundswell, we were together, standing together, and it worked. It worked. We changed the way that hate crimes are tracked and responded to in this country. We did this together. On the morning of the massacre, a police officer took 15 bullets trying to protect my community. Lieutenant Brian Murphy, a white Christian man who did not know who we were, was bleeding on the ground, but he kept moving because he knew that the gunman would go inside the Gurdwara and take more lives, and he was moving to give the gunman a target. He was willing to offer up his body, his breath, his blood for my people. When I look at my son, my heart is in my throat, because I know if he chooses to love like that, to serve like that, he will not be safe. Courage is fear that has said its prayers. And so I draw my son close to me and I whisper in his ear the way that my mother whispered to me the ancient Sikh prayer, Tati vauna lagi pad brahm shanai. The hot winds cannot touch you. You are shielded by the divine. The hot winds cannot touch you, even under a rain of fire, even when you are broken, even when you are bleeding, whether in the battleground or the birthing room. The hot winds cannot touch you because you have a space within your heart that the fires cannot consume. The space in your heart that is filled with love of Jesus or Muhammad, love of God or the cosmos, the love of your mother whispering in your ear, you are brave. You are brave. Sisters and brothers of this world, you are brave. We are brave. Together, reach out and grab the hand of the person next to you and say with me, the hot winds cannot touch you. The hot winds cannot touch you. Because we are of each other and with each other. We are of the holy and with the holy. We are of God and with God. We are with love and of love. And your love, if you vow now to never let go of one another's hands, if you vow to walk out of these halls into the fires of life, our love, your love can and will remake this world. Thank you. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Thank you, Valarie. Thank you so much.